Are you looking for a delicious meatball and sauce recipe where the meatballs are moist and packed full of flavor? Have I got a recipe for you, and it is fail-proof. Join me, give me just 5 minutes, and I'll show you how to make this delicious meal come together. To start, to make this decadent, delicious meatball, we're going to start by putting a bunch of our ingredients into the food processor and letting the food processor do most of the work for us. So I'm putting in 1 whole onion, 1 beef bouillon cube, some bacon, carrots, celery, and garlic. Let it go and let it become a pulverized pulp. This is how it looks when it starts. Give it 2 minutes and it's going to look completely different. Keep your food processor going till you get a mixture that looks like this. I'm chopping my bread into small cubes, and I usually use this Hawaiian roll. The bread is a little bit sweeter and it gives that overall sweetness to the meatballs. Chop it up into cubes and then put it right into the bowl that we're going to mix all of our meatballs in. Now I'm going to add some milk to moisten the bread, about 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup of milk. After soaking the bread in the milk for about a minute and a half, it's time to add that mixture that we made earlier, packed full of flavor, and it just happens to be really good for you with all these vegetables. At this point, you want to mix all your ingredients in your bowl really well before we add any more ingredients in. Time to add your eggs, 2 eggs. Once they go in, we're going to combine it well again. And gently stir it at the beginning because it's going to splatter everywhere. You can see that your bread is softening right up and absorbing all of those flavors from the vegetable, the milk, and from the egg that we just added in. This is what your mixture is going to look like. If it's a little bit looser than this, you can certainly add a little bit more bread so that it's a little bit tighter. It's time to add the meat now. Instead of just throwing all your meat in at once, I break it up into little pieces as I'm putting it in. It makes it easier to mix, and it makes sure that each meatball is well combined without overworking it. I found the best way to do this is to get in with your hands and just mix it all up. Keep going, not too rough, but just until all the ingredients are well combined. This is what your mixture should look like, and now it's time to add the salt and the pepper. You'll give it one final mix before we start making the meatballs. It will feel a little bit loose. That's the way this meatball recipe is. It's so that your meatball isn't tough. They're very delicate and very decadent. I'm making the meatballs about the size of a golf ball. You don't want to try and keep them all as even as possible because then they cook at the same rate. Once you've got a full tray, don't try and squish any more in. Start a fresh new tray. These are going to go straight into a preheated oven, and they're going to cook for 25 to 30 minutes. While the meatballs are baking, it's time to work on our very simple but super delicious tomato sauce. My sauce is pretty simple. It's full of clean ingredients. I've got some onion, some garlic, some crushed tomatoes, some good olive oil, and a little bit of salt. I do find that the finer you chop or dice your onions, the better the sauce comes out. So I do dice my onions fairly small. I'm chopping my garlic right next to my onions, and they're going in right at the same time. Put a couple of good glugs of olive oil into our pot and let it heat up. Time to add the onions and the garlic right into that oil. You can hear it sizzling right away. This will take about 2 minutes to saute down and just become translucent. The onions are translucent. It's time to add in the crushed tomatoes. And we're going to add a little bit of water about 5 minutes after this is simmered for a bit. Drop the heat to medium, and I'm going to add my salt. Add a little bit at first and then taste after a minute or two after it's really integrated in. Now I'm adding a little bit of water. I added a little bit of water. It allows me to cook this for a longer period of time, so it thins it out for now, but it's going to thicken right up. If your tomatoes are a little bit acidic, then you can counter it with a little bit of sugar and or grated carrots. This is one of those dishes that you have to taste all the way throughout to make sure there's a balanced level of flavor. And what do I mean by that? You want the right saltiness for you personally and not as acidic as you might want or don't want. So Adding a little bit of sugar or salt to just get it to that point that you really enjoy it, that's important. It's really well balanced. For me, it's perfect. If you wanted to spice this up, now's a good time to add chili flakes or even chili oil. These meatballs already smell delicious, but we're going to take it to the next level. As soon as it comes out of the oven, you start putting them right into your sauce. They are a little bit delicate, so be gentle with them as you put them into the sauce. The meatball is going to continue to flavor this sauce, so if you find that it's not quite as salty as you want it, wait for a little bit. While you put your pasta on, the meatball will continue to flavor that sauce. And look at that. Do they not look absolutely delicious? These meatballs are a little bit more delicate, so when you're mixing it, be gentle with them. In 2023, it is relevant for me to share with you that this costs $12 worth of ingredients to make gourmet meatballs and the pasta. It really works out to about $1.50 a portion, so you can have gourmet meals at a fraction of the cost if you make it at home. I do have a video coming out on making fresh pasta. However, today I picked up some of this gourmet pasta from a local Italian store. You can use either or. It does come out beautifully with either fresh pasta or store-bought pasta. These meatballs come out super moist every time it's time to taste. Your fork just glides right through them, and the smell is almost decadent. They're so moist, they're so packed full of flavor. This is a fail-proof recipe. I hope you subscribe to the channel and try this recipe at least once. You will not give this up. It'll become part of your repertoire. Take care. Hope you see you soon.